Hey, church family, I just want to take a second and clarify something that I used in my last video about understanding prophecy, and where I shared that if you wanted to hear God about what He has planned for your life and to give you some clarification on what is going on, I said that you needed to pray and to fast and to listen. And listening, of course, means spending time in the Word of God, and we'll get back to that in another video as to a good way to kind of have a planned Bible reading agenda. But I really want to talk about fasting today, because it's one of those concepts that we have a huge disconnect with what is often mentioned in the Bible and what the really early church did between what we have today. And that's mainly because we live in such a different time. People in the time of Paul and Jesus and before that, and even as late until like the 1900s and the first part of the 20th century, most people worked from sun up to sundown to have food. I mean, talk to somebody who was 70, 80, 90 years old or above, and they'll tell you about many nights that they went to bed hungry, that there were feasts and famine, especially if they were in a rural agricultural society, if they grew up in farms and out in the country. And it's only really until the end part of the 1900s and the 20th century, or 21st century that we're in now, that we really have created just a huge divide. When you think about even 150, 200 years ago, the ideas of watching TV or air conditioning and things of that nature, automobiles. I mean, we have had a rapid progression in society and mankind as a whole. And so, but most of the time when somebody says we need a good old-fashioned fast, they talk about surrendering food. And the thing is now, with refrigeration, with grocery stores, and with programs that we have, yes, we still have people that are hungry. But a lot of people who are in the church who are desiring this change, food isn't their number one desire. Now, sure, it'd be good for a few of us to maybe miss a meal or two every once in a while. But if you look at it and think about it for just a second and analyze what people are doing that maybe overeat or are obese, and even some of the people who can easily give up food and still not have their prayers answered, the simple fact is they're not doing a true, genuine fast. And here's how I can say that. Back then they would work from sun up to sundown just to have a meal, to find a way to sustain life. They had it just infinitely harder than any of us can imagine today. I mean, let the air conditioning go out in one of our houses, and we're feeling like we're ready to die. And that's something these people never knew. It was so much poverty for the masses, so to speak, in the time of Jesus and before that, and even in time periods after that, that people they'd willingly sell themselves into slavery or come into agreement to be somebody's servant, so that they would know at the end of the day, no matter what they had to do, they'd have food and shelter. Just think about being in that situation where you would have to surrender your rights, because that would be the only way that you'd be able to come across food. But for us today, we surrender our time and our effort, and for most of the things that we surrender to or for, doesn't have to do with food. Sure, maybe it may involve food, but there's something deeper underneath that. And that's what I want to talk about, the idea of fasting today. You see, fasting is giving up your daily desire of something that's just in the back of your mind, something that motivates you, something that pushes you to do what you do. Just like with the first and second century, and even before that, around that time period. They woke up hungry and they knew they had to get out there and do something so they could meet that need. They didn't have refrigeration. They didn't have canned food. They didn't have ramen noodles. They didn't have the cheap stuff they could get. They had to go out and work and find a job and get it, and then make sure they pay their taxes and all that other stuff. Here we may work so that we can have internet. We may work the whole time thinking, I can't wait till I get home so I can binge watch some Netflix. Some may say, I consider this job that I don't like because it pays for me to have a lifestyle where I can be out and do the things that I want to do. You see, those are the motivations. That's what we yearn for. Those are the things that we seek after so much, whether it's, scrolling up or scrolling left and right, whatever these kids are into now. Whatever we have that just deep down yearning appetite for, that we feel that if we don't do it, life isn't good and isn't worth living. You see, you have a lot of people that maybe make bad food decisions because they're cramming something in their mouth that's unhealthy so that it doesn't take time away from what they really want and to do, and that they really need to surrender and give that time to God. You've got some people that wouldn't eat, and if it weren't for the fact that the social things that they like to do are usually at restaurants and things like that. Some folks get so involved in their electronics and their games and their pastimes and their hobbies, the things that they do to be able to ignore the world around them and the thoughts within themselves they don't know how to deal with, that they'll fail to eat. And that's the things that distract us from hearing God, because instead of being able to hear God's love for us, God's plan for us, we hear the knocking on our mind and heart of, you insert what drives you. You insert what you look forward to at the end of the day. And sure, I hope it's spending time with family. I hope you always make a time for that. But even if that's the greatest thing that you do, if you love the distraction of your bride and your kids and the thing that you share, and you feel that you're not hearing God, I would just take a block out of that time. And as an individual, and even as a family, just say, look, help me deal with this. I also invite you that if it's something that's just so easy for you to do because you've got your phone, in your pocket all the time, you can always delete an app. That thing will always let you re-download something. You can always sign back in. But how about signing out for a while? How about instead of scrolling and swiping, that's the time that you pray, you read, and you truly listen. Let that be your fast. So again, if food is your drive, if food's the thing you think about, keep with the traditional concept of a fast. But if it's not, look at what you are and do have an appetite for, and surrender that. I promise you, your life will never be the same. God bless you. Thank you so much for this time. I hope it was a blessing to you. I hope it helped you to understand and have a closer walk with God. And as always, God bless you. And until next time.